We're going to do what's called a blind contour drawing. So a blind contour drawing is when you take a, blind contour. So as you would guess, this has to do with contour line, right? The outside edge of a object when you're drawing it with line. Blind contour drawings are kind of interesting and a good way to sort of be, to get sort of loose when you're trying to, I don't know, when you get frustrated or when you need something new to do. So I was going to kind of talk about this a little bit. So blind contour drawings are a little bit different than what you would do if you were going to draw, say, your sort of typical, I don't know, shoe. Say we're going to draw a shoe, right? So if you're going to work on a contour of drawing of a shoe, right, you would think about, this is your contour line. Really, like, this is kind of a fast drawing of a shoe, but that's okay, right? If I was going to think about this, I would probably think about, got my, and I kind of like working with what's called a blind contour drawing because it kind of gets me out of my head. It's something that I think is really useful to have in your repertoire, and it seems sort of silly to start with because if you just started drawing, this is sort of crazy that I would ask you to make what we think of as a blind contour drawing. So you kind of get the sense of how to make a contour drawing here. Generally, I'm just asking you, to draw your object as you see it out in front of you with a line, right? So you get what a contour line drawing is, right? But what happens if I ask you to, let's see, this actually goes more like this. Anyway, now you can see I did a really quick drawing of a Converse here, right? Okay, so we have a really basic contour line drawing here. If you're going to do a blind contour drawing, that means that you are going to actually try to do this drawing without actually looking at your paper, which is a really tough ask, I know, especially for some of us that don't feel super confident in our drawing abilities yet. But it's kind of a good way to get sort of, I don't know, kind of shake it out a little bit. Because I think sometimes when we're drawing, we get kind of stuck in certain things, like, oh, it doesn't look like that. So this is a great way to sort of kind of get away from that idea a little bit. So anyway, so if I asked you to do a blind contour drawing of this object, that means that you will not look at your paper, and so you want to sit in a position where you're not really looking at your paper, but you are looking at your object out in front of you. And usually it works best to put your object kind of far out so you're not looking at your actual paper. So I like to put it out on the table a little bit further so I'm not looking really closely at my drawing. So I'm going to start here, and you guys can totally laugh at me, but I am not going to look at my paper. And I'm going to try to draw in one like long continuous line, so without sticking my marker up off of the page. Now you can do these in any type of material, but I would recommend using a pen or using a pencil probably, or a marker of some sort. I felt like I was going to really go for it today, so I picked this crazy pink pen marker thing. And remember, I'm not looking at my paper, I'm just looking at my object, and I'm trying to think about, where does my eye go across the object's form? How are the lines and edges sort of related to one another? And this is a pretty challenging object for me to pick. Actually, sort of hating myself right now. This one was a really hard one, but it's okay. Now you might go a little bit faster than this or a little slower, but I think it's good to think about sort of these, you know, taking the time to really study what you're looking at out in front of you for at least, you know, like a minute. Could even be 2 minutes, or you could set a timer for yourself and make it 5 minutes before you get to look at your object. Or get to look at your drawing, rather. You're looking at your object, not your drawing. So see if you can remember to put in some of these details. I'm even going to go for it at this point. I'm going to put some of my stitching in here. Because I have some little details, and I'm trying to kind of push myself to work for a little bit longer than I typically would. Oh, I almost forgot my lower portion of my shoe actually, so I'm going to guess that it's sort of here. And it's got that interesting like front of that shoe. I picked a Converse shoe because I know so many people know what they look like, right? We'll see how this goes. Okay, that's probably about 1.5 minutes. Well, that's not so bad. Like, it kind of actually does look like a shoe. So this is what's called your blind contour. Now, when you go to do it, I have a lot of practice. So mine doesn't really look like a shoe, but it has like a shoe shape, and yours probably will have, I don't know, some kind of shape. But from here on out, when you sort of get frustrated, like this is a great way to think about what you're looking at and try to, I don't know, kind of loosen up a little bit, because it's really easy to get sort of stiff when you're drawing. So yeah, I'll have you try a few of those. So you have your contour line, your blind contour line. And I actually kind of like my blind contour line drawing the best because it's got a little bit more expressive quality to it.